The night was quiet. The ruined alien city stretched out in silence, broken towers leaning against the dark sky. Faint light from 2 moons fell across shattered streets, turning the rubble silver. In the middle of this place sat one human traveler. His clothes were worn, his boots covered with dust, and his face showed the lines of many battles. He carried no treasure, no weapon larger than a simple knife, only a small pack. Tonight, he was grateful for one thing: food. A half-empty container rested in his hands. He ate slowly, piece by piece, like a man who had learned long ago that meals were not promised tomorrow. The sound of chewing echoed in the stillness. And then, another sound, a whisper. At first, he thought it was the wind moving through broken walls. But the sound came again, soft and trembling. His hand froze over the food, his ears sharpened. There it was. Words. Can we have your leftovers? His head lifted slowly. He turned toward the voice. 4 small shapes stood just beyond the broken wall, half in shadow. They were thin, almost fragile, like children half-starved. Their clothes were torn, their arms skinny, their legs shaking. The human's eyes narrowed. Children? Here? In this destroyed place? The tallest one stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but steady. Please, we are hungry. The human felt his stomach twist. He had seen beggars before, children left behind by war. But something about these children was different. He studied their faces. That was when he saw it. Their eyes. Blue. Not the blue of oceans. Not the blue of skies. Their eyes glowed faintly like small fires shining in the dark. They were not human. The human's heart pounded. His hand moved slowly to his knife. Were they dangerous? Were they bait for an ambush? Many times in his travels he had seen traps made to trick the careless, but then one of the smallest children stepped forward. Her knees shook as she spoke. We have not eaten for many days. Her voice cracked, weak and dry. The human studied her longer. No weapon, no trick, only hunger. Their ribs pressed against their skin, their lips dry, their hands trembling. These were not soldiers. These were children, broken and alone. Still, fear lived inside him. He did not trust easily. He lowered his eyes to his food. Half a container. Enough for him to survive another day, maybe 2. If he gave it away, he might go hungry himself. The silence stretched. The children did not move closer. They stood, waiting, like animals afraid of being struck. The glowing eyes never left him. Finally, the human sighed. He pulled out a small piece of bread and held it up. Come closer, he said. His voice was low, careful. The children looked at each other. The tallest one shook her head. No, we cannot. If they see us with you. She stopped speaking suddenly as if she had said too much. The human frowned. If who sees you? None of the children answered. He placed the bread on a stone near his feet. Then he pushed the container forward. Take it, he said. For a moment no one moved. Then the smallest child ran forward, grabbed the bread and ran back. The others crouched around her as she tore the piece into 4 parts. They ate fast like creatures who had not touched food in a long time. The human watched them. The way their hands shook, the way their glowing eyes softened when the taste hit their tongues. He had seen hunger before, but this was worse. When they finished, the tallest child raised her head. Thank you. The human nodded once. He wanted to ask questions, but before he could, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble rolled through the ruins like heavy machines moving in the distance. The children's faces changed at once. Their eyes widened, filled with fear. They are coming, the tallest whispered. The human tensed. Who? The child looked at him with those glowing blue eyes filled with both terror and hope. She opened her mouth to answer. But in that moment, a bright searchlight swept across the far street. The ruined walls glowed white. Heavy footsteps echoed closer. The children pressed back into the shadows, shaking. One of them grabbed the human's sleeve. Her small voice cracked. "Please, don't let them find us." The human's breath caught in his chest. He stared into their glowing eyes. He had a choice: walk away and survive, or stay and risk everything for 4 alien children he had just met. And as the light drew nearer, his hand tightened around the knife. The night was no longer silent. The hunt had begun. The searchlight swept across the ruined walls. The white beam cut through smoke and dust, chasing away the shadows. The human pressed his back against the broken stone, his breath slow and silent. The 4 children huddled together behind him, their glowing blue eyes trembling with fear. The footsteps grew louder, heavy boots marching in rhythm, armored soldiers moving like machines. Somewhere close, a harsh voice shouted an order in a language the human did not know. The smallest child clutched his sleeve. Her thin fingers shook. "If they see us," she whispered, "they will take us back." The human looked down at her. "Back where?" he asked in a low voice. She didn't answer. None of them did. Their faces tightened, their lips pressed shut. But their eyes told the story, eyes filled with terror, as if memories too painful burned behind them. The human's jaw tightened. He knew that look. He had seen it before, in refugee camps, in villages crushed by war, in the faces of children who had lost everything. The soldiers passed by slowly, their lights scanning each street. The human crouched lower, keeping his hand on the hilt of his knife. He knew he could not fight an army. If they were seen, all of them would die. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the footsteps grew distant. The lights faded. Silence returned to the ruins. The children did not move. They were still frozen, breathing hard, eyes wide with fear. "It is safe now," the human whispered. The tallest child shook her head. "Safe? There is no safe. Not anymore." Her words struck him like a stone. He studied her face. She was older than the others, maybe 12, maybe more. Her skin was pale, almost silver in the moonlight. And though she was thin and weak, her voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. The human reached into his pack and pulled out a small flask of water. He offered it. The children stared at it as if it were treasure. One by one they drank. The smallest coughed, the water running down her chin, but she smiled weakly for the first time. "Why are you here?" the human asked. His voice was quiet but firm. "Why are soldiers hunting you?" The children exchanged looks. Finally, the tallest one spoke. "We are orphans. Our village, gone. Our people, gone." Her voice broke, but she continued. "They took the others. They want us too." The human frowned. "Who are they?" "The soldiers," she whispered. "They serve the conquerors. They take children like us." The human felt his chest tighten. He wanted to ask why, but he saw the pain in their eyes. He knew there would be no easy answer. Instead, he asked, "How long since you ate?" 3 days, said the smallest. Maybe more. His hand tightened on the flask. He had little food left, not enough for all of them, not enough for even himself if he shared again tomorrow. But he looked at their faces, the hollow cheeks, the trembling hands, the eyes filled with both hunger and hope. He could not push them away. He gave them what remained of his bread. They ate quickly, breaking each piece into smaller pieces so none was left behind. As they ate, the human thought. He was only one man, alone, without allies, without weapons, without a plan. And yet, in this dark city, these 4 alien orphans had found him. Or maybe he had found them. When the food was gone, the tallest one stood. Her glowing eyes met his. "You should leave us," she said. "It is too dangerous. They will come again. They always come." The human studied her in silence. For a long moment he thought of walking away. He could. It would be easy. He owed them nothing. But something inside him resisted. A voice deep in his heart whispered, "If you walk away now, they will die." He shook his head. "I will not leave." The children stared at him. Their glowing eyes widened with surprise. "Why?" the tallest asked. "You don't know us." The human looked at them, thin, weak, scared, but still alive. "Because no one should face this alone." For the first time, the children's faces softened. The smallest gave a faint smile, as if she wanted to believe his words. But then, the silence was broken again. A metallic roar echoed across the ruins. The soldiers were returning. The children's smiles faded. Their fear returned. The human rose to his feet, knife in hand. He looked at the children and whispered, "Stay behind me." The blue-eyed orphans clung together. And in that moment, under the cold moons of a ruined world, the human made a choice. He would fight, he would run, he would suffer, but he would not abandon them. The night was no longer only about survival. It was about something greater. The ruins shook again. This time the sound was closer. Heavy engines grinding against the stone streets, armored vehicles rolling forward. The human's eyes narrowed as the echoes bounced off the broken walls. The children stiffened, their glowing blue eyes wide with fear. "They are searching," the tallest whispered. Her voice was tight, trembling, but steady enough to warn him. The human crouched lower, scanning the shadows. He had traveled many war zones, but this was different. Here, he was not the target. These children were, and whoever hunted them hunted without mercy. He turned to the oldest. "We need to move. Now." The 4 orphans clung together. Their thin legs trembled, their faces pale, but they nodded. The human pointed toward a narrow alley. Broken beams and rubble covered the path, but it led deeper into the ruins. "Stay close to me," he said. "No sound, no crying. Do you understand?" The children nodded again, their glowing eyes reflecting the faint moonlight. They moved, quiet steps over stone, careful not to send loose rocks skittering into the street. The human walked first, knife in hand, scanning every shadow. The children followed in a tight cluster, so close they looked like one body. Behind them, the roar of machines grew louder. The searchlights cut across the ruins again, white beams crawling over the crumbled towers like claws searching for prey. The human's heart pounded. He had faced danger before, but this was different. 4 small lives moved behind him, trusting him to lead. If he failed, they would die. Halfway through the alley, the smallest child stumbled. A sharp cry almost escaped her lips, but the human spun around and caught her before she fell. His hand covered her mouth gently. He crouched low, whispering, "Quiet. Quiet." The child nodded quickly, tears in her glowing eyes. He helped her stand again. And then the noise came. Footsteps, not far away. The human pressed the children against the alley wall. He crouched in front of them, knife ready, eyes fixed on the corner. The footsteps grew louder, heavier, soldiers moving in perfect rhythm. The beam of a searchlight swung into the alley. The dust lit up white, every crack and stone glowing. The children held their breath. The human's grip on the knife tightened. The light moved closer. One step more and they would be seen. But then, shouts. Another squad called out in the distance. The light turned away, the footsteps changed direction, and the soldiers moved toward the other street. The human exhaled slowly. The children did too, some with silent sobs. He stood. "We move again," he whispered. They pushed deeper into the ruins. The streets grew darker, narrower, like veins twisting through the dead city. The human guided them carefully, always scanning for danger. Finally, they reached an old marketplace. The roof had collapsed long ago, leaving only stone pillars and broken stalls. The children looked around, their glowing eyes wide with memory. "This was our home," the tallest whispered. "We used to play here." The human stopped. "This city? It was yours?" She nodded. "Before they came." before they burned it. The human felt his chest tighten. He had seen burned villages before, but never one like this. An entire alien city reduced to ruins, and its children hunted like animals. The smallest child tugged at his sleeve. "Why are you helping us?" she asked softly. The human looked at her. "Because someone must." Before more could be said, the ground shook again. This time the noise was heavier, closer. Engines, voices, boots. The soldiers had circled back, the children's eyes filled with terror. The human scanned the ruins for escape, but there was no easy path. The marketplace was wide and open. If they ran, the soldiers would see. The human's jaw tightened. He pointed toward a broken stairway that led underground. "There," he said. They hurried across the rubble, moving as fast as their weak legs allowed. The soldiers' voices grew louder, their searchlights sweeping across the market. The children reached the stair first. The human pushed them down one by one. The darkness swallowed them. As the last child climbed down, the human heard it, the metallic click of weapons. He spun. At the far side of the market, shadows moved. Soldiers stepped out, their armor gleaming. In the moonlight, their eyes hidden behind black helmets. The human's breath caught. He could not fight them. Not here. Not now. He dropped into the stairway after the children, pulling a heavy stone slab across the opening. The world above went dark, the sound of soldiers echoing faintly overhead. The underground passage smelled of dust and old stone. The walls glowed faintly with strange alien symbols. The children pressed close to him, their glowing eyes bright in the darkness. "They will find us," the tallest whispered. "Not yet," the human said. "Keep moving." The passage stretched deep into the earth. Their footsteps echoed. Somewhere ahead, faint blue light shimmered, almost alive. The human frowned. This was no ordinary ruin. The air vibrated, and strange whispers tickled his ears. The tallest child looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the strange blue light. "They want us because of this," she whispered. The human stopped. "Because of what?" The child raised her hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then faint light began to glow from her palm, the same strange blue light that pulsed through the walls. The human stared. His heart pounded. These children were not just orphans. They carried something powerful, something dangerous. And now, he understood why the soldiers hunted them. The underground passage stretched like a vein beneath the dead city. Dust floated in the stale air. Strange blue lines glowed faintly along the cracked stone walls, pulsing like the heartbeat of something ancient. The human walked ahead, knife in hand, the children following close behind. Their footsteps echoed softly. Every sound seemed too loud, as if the whole city above could hear them. The tallest child held her hand against the wall. The blue light responded, glowing brighter under her touch. The human noticed, his eyes narrowing. "What is that?" he asked. Her voice was quiet, almost ashamed. "It is part of us. This place was built by our ancestors. The light knows our blood." The human frowned. He had seen many ruins in his travels, but never ones that breathed with the touch of children. He wondered what secret they carried, and why soldiers hunted them so mercilessly. Before he could ask more, the ground trembled. A distant explosion shook dust from the ceiling. The children gasped. They found the entrance. The tallest whispered. The human's grip on his knife tightened. He scanned the tunnel. It split ahead into two paths, one leading deeper, the other climbing upward. He pointed. "Up! We must stay ahead of them." The children obeyed, running as fast as their thin legs allowed. The human stayed behind them, always watching, always ready. They climbed the narrow stair, broken stones scraping under their boots. When they reached the surface again, the night was alive with danger. The ruined city glowed faintly under the moons. Searchlights swept across broken towers. Soldiers moved in the distance, their armored vehicles growling through the streets. The children pressed close together, fear written across their glowing eyes. The humans scanned the shadows, the only Way forward was through the skeletal remains of what had once been a great hall. Its roof had collapsed, leaving giant beams lying like the ribs of a dead beast. "Stay low," he whispered. They crawled beneath the fallen beams, slipping between stone and shadow. Every step was slow, every breath careful. The children trembled, but they obeyed. Halfway through, a beam cracked under their weight. The sound echoed across the ruins. Voices shouted in the distance. Soldiers turned. The human cursed under his breath. "Run!" he barked. The children bolted, their bare feet slapping against the stone. The human followed, knife ready. Behind them, soldiers shouted, weapons clanging as they gave chase. The group burst into a wide courtyard. Once it might have been a garden, but now it was only rubble and ash. Broken statues stood like ghosts under the moonlight. The children stopped, panicked. The courtyard was wide open, no cover, no walls. "Keep moving," the human urged. They sprinted across, but the soldiers were faster. Shots cracked the night, energy bolts slamming into the stones around them. Sparks flew. Dust exploded into the air. The children screamed, ducking low. The smallest stumbled and fell. The human rushed back, grabbing her in his arms. He pulled her to her feet and ran again. Energy bolts whined past his ears, burning holes into the ruins. They reached the far side of the courtyard, diving into another alley. The soldiers followed, their boots pounding, their lights slicing the darkness. The human's lungs burned. His legs ached. But he forced himself forward, dragging the smallest child with him. Then it happened. The oldest child stumbled, her hand slamming against a wall as she tried to steady herself. The stone lit up under her touch. Blue light exploded outward, spreading across the wall like fire through veins. The soldiers stopped, startled. The wall shook. Strange symbols burned bright, glowing hotter and hotter. The human spun around, knife raised. "What did you do?" The girl's glowing eyes filled with tears. "I cannot control it." The wall split open. A burst of blue energy shot out, blasting across the alley. The shockwave threw the soldiers back, scattering them like leaves in the wind. The children gasped. The human shielded them with his body, his ears ringing from the force. When the light faded, silence returned. Dust drifted slowly through the air. The soldiers groaned in the distance, struggling to rise. The human turned to the girl. She was shaking, her hands still glowing faintly. "You can do this again?" he asked sharply. Her lips trembled. "Sometimes, but I do not know how." The human's mind raced. Their powers were real. Dangerous, unpredictable, but real. No wonder the soldiers hunted them. He grabbed the girl's shoulder. "Listen, you must learn, or we will all die." Tears rolled down her face, but she nodded. The smallest tugged at the human's sleeve. Her voice was weak but steady. "They will never stop, they will chase us forever." The human looked out at the ruins. The soldiers were regrouping. More would come soon. He tightened his grip on the knife. "Then we must stay ahead. And if they catch us..." His jaw hardened. "We fight." The children's glowing eyes reflected the moons above. For the first time there was something in them besides fear. A spark of hope. The human took a deep breath. The chase was not over. It was only beginning. The ruins lay quiet again. But it was a dangerous kind of silence. The soldiers had been thrown back by the strange blue energy, but the human knew they would return soon and in greater numbers. He led the children into another alley, narrow and twisted, where shadows could hide them for a little longer. The children's breathing was heavy, their thin shoulders rising and falling with every step. Still they followed, their glowing eyes flicking nervously at every sound. Finally, they stopped in what had once been a great hall. The roof was gone, open to the night sky, but the walls still stood, decorated with strange alien carvings. Blue light shimmered faintly along the symbols, alive in a way that made the human uneasy. The children pressed close together. The oldest, girl, the one who had unleashed the energy, looked pale, her face wet with tears. Her hand still glowed faintly, like a fading ember. The human knelt in front of her, His voice was calm, but firm. You must tell me the truth. What are you? Why do the soldiers want you? The girl lowered her eyes. For a moment she said nothing. The others stared at her, waiting, silent. Finally, she whispered, "We are the last of our kind." The human frowned. "What do you mean?" "Our people had power," she said softly. "Not the power of weapons, not the power of armies, the power of the light." She touched the wall, and once again the symbols glowed brighter. "This energy is in us. It is in our blood. It is the gift of the first ones who built this city long ago." The human stared at the glowing walls. "You mean, you can control it?" She nodded weakly. "Some of us could. The soldiers, they killed the others. They want us because we are young. They think they can take the light from us, use it for themselves." The human's chest tightened. He had seen greed before, seen men destroy whole villages for gold, for oil, for weapons. But this was different. These children carried something far more dangerous than gold. He looked at the youngest, who was clinging to his sleeve. "Can all of you do this?" The children shook their heads. The tallest girl whispered, "Only some. I cannot yet. Maybe one day. That is why they chase us." The human stood, his knife still in hand. He looked at the night sky above the broken roof. The moons glowed cold and silver. He thought about leaving. He thought about walking away, saving himself while there was still a chance. But then he looked at them again. 4 thin children, orphaned by war, carrying a power they did not understand. He saw their glowing eyes watching him with both fear and hope. He sighed. "Then we cannot let them take you. Not now, not ever." The children's eyes widened. The smallest whispered, "You would fight for us?" The human's jaw tightened. "I will do what I must." A sound cut through the silence, the sharp hum of engines. The soldiers were moving again. Lights flashed in the distance, growing closer. The human motioned for the children to follow. They slipped through another broken doorway and into the streets. The night air smelled of smoke and ash. Every sound carried danger. As they moved, the oldest girl whispered, "The power is not only for fighting." The human glanced at her. "What do you mean?" She touched another wall as they passed. The blue light rippled outward, and for a moment the broken stones shifted, hiding their path behind a veil of glowing energy. The human's eyes widened. "Illusion." She nodded. "Our ancestors built this city with the light. It is more than power, it is memory, it is protection, but—" Her voice grew weaker. "I cannot hold it for long." The human touched her shoulder gently. "You did well. Enough to keep them off us for now." The children moved on, following him through the ruins until they reached a narrow bridge made of broken stone. Below, a river of black water moved slowly, reflecting the moons like shattered glass. The human stepped first, testing the stones. They shook under his weight but held. He motioned for the children to cross. One by one they moved carefully across the bridge. The smallest stumbled, but the human caught her arm before she fell. Halfway across, the sound of footsteps came again. Soldiers approaching fast. Lights cut through the dark. The human clenched his knife. "Go," he barked. The children hurried across the bridge, their glowing eyes wide with terror. The human stayed last, his body between them and the soldiers. Bolts of energy cracked the night. One struck the bridge, shattering stone. The human nearly lost his footing, but he pushed forward. They reached the far side just as the bridge began to collapse. The stones fell into the dark river with a roar. The children gasped, clutching each other. The human pulled them away from the edge. He looked back at the soldiers trapped on the far side, their shouts echoing across the water. For now, they were safe. The human turned to the children. "You must stay strong," he said. "Whatever is inside you, whatever this light is, it is dangerous, yes. But it is also hope. And hope is worth fighting for." The tallest girl nodded, her glowing eyes steady. "Then we will not run forever?" We will learn. We will fight too. The human looked at her. For the first time, he saw not just frightened orphans, but the beginning of something greater. And as the night deepened, he knew the real battle was still ahead. The ruined city did not sleep. The night was filled with the growl of engines and the echo of boots. Searchlights crossed the broken towers like hungry eyes. The human and the 4 alien children pressed deeper into the ruins, their steps quick but silent. For a while, it seemed the soldiers had been left behind. But the human knew better. He could feel the danger closing in like a storm creeping over the horizon. The tallest child whispered, "They will not stop. They never stop." The human's grip on his knife tightened. "Then we don't stop either." They moved through a narrow street where statues of ancient kings lay broken on the ground. The blue-eyed children clung close together, glowing faintly in the dark. Every time he looked at them, the human felt the weight of his choice. He could have walked away. He should have walked away. But now it was too late. Suddenly the silence shattered. A blinding light burst across the street. Soldiers poured out from both sides, armored figures with weapons raised. The hum of their energy rifles filled the air. "Run!" the human shouted. The children scattered into the shadows. The human charged forward, knife flashing. He struck, the first soldier in the neck, dropping him with a grunt. Energy bolts whined past his head. Sparks exploded as walls cracked and burned. The human rolled behind a fallen statue, pulling the smallest child with him. "Stay down," he barked. The soldiers advanced, shouting orders. Their lights swept the ruins, searching for the glowing eyes of the children. The human's heart pounded. He could not fight them all, but he had to try. He leapt from cover, knife in hand. Another soldier fell, armor clattering against the stone. A bolt grazed the human's arm, burning his flesh. He gritted his teeth and kept moving. The oldest girl pressed her glowing hand against a wall. Blue light exploded outward, forming a shimmering shield of energy. Bolts struck it and bounced away, lighting up the night. The soldiers cursed, firing harder. The shield flickered, cracking under the force. The girl cried out, her strength fading. The human ran to her side. "Hold it just a little longer." "I can't," she screamed. Tears streamed down her face. "It's too strong." The human grabbed her hand, steadying her. "You are stronger than you think. You must be." Her glowing eyes locked onto his. For a moment, the shield grew brighter, holding against the storm of fire. But her body trembled, and he could see she could not last. The other children cried out, huddled together behind the shield. The human looked at them, then at the soldiers pressing closer, their black helmets cold and merciless. He knew the truth. They were trapped. The commander stepped forward. His armor was heavier, his weapon larger, his voice a growl of steel. "Give them to us," he barked, "and we will let you live." The human spat on the ground. "They are not yours." The commander raised his weapon. "Then you will die with them." The children screamed as the shield cracked again. The human's mind raced. He had no chance against them. Not with only a knife. Not even with the girl's power. Unless... He bought them time. He turned to the children. His voice was sharp but steady. "Run, now, don't look back." The oldest shook her head. "No, we can't leave you." "You must," he said firmly. His eyes burned with determination. "If they take you, everything ends. But if you escape, there is hope." The children's glowing eyes filled with tears, but deep inside they understood. The human stood tall, stepping in front of the shield. He raised his knife. Blood ran down his burned arm, but his grip was strong. The commander sneered. "One man cannot fight an army." The human's voice was steady. "One man is enough, if he stands in the right place." And then he charged. He moved like lightning, slashing through the nearest soldiers before they could react. His knife struck armor, sparks flying. Bolts of energy tore the ground around him, but he did not stop. "Run!" he shouted again. The children obeyed. They turned and fled into the ruins, their glowing eyes vanishing into the dark. The human fought with everything he had. Every strike was wild but powerful, every movement fueled by the will to protect. Soldiers fell, but more came. Bolts burned into his body, one in the leg, one in the side, but still he stood. The commander raised his heavy weapon. A blast of energy struck the human's chest, throwing him back against the wall. His knife fell from his hand. He coughed, blood on his lips, but he smiled faintly. The children were gone. Safe, at least for now. The commander stepped closer, pointing his weapon at the man's head. Fool, you gave your life for nothing. But then, the ground shook. From the distance, a burst of blue light exploded, brighter than the moon's. The children. They had unleashed their power. The soldiers turned in shock. The commander's helmet glowed under the strange light. The human's vision blurred, but he forced himself to smile. His last thought before the darkness claimed him was simple. They will live, and that is enough. The ruins shook with blue light. It spread across broken towers and shattered walls, chasing away the shadows of the night. The soldiers stumbled, blinded and confused. Their weapons flickered, their armor sparked under the strange energy. The 4 alien children ran, their glowing, eyes fixed on the path ahead. Tears streamed down their faces, but their steps did not stop. They remembered his words, "Run. Don't look back." Behind them, the sounds of battle faded. The human who had protected them, who had chosen to stand when no one else would, was gone. But his courage burned inside them like fire. The oldest girl led the way through the twisting ruins. Her palm glowed with blue energy, guiding them down hidden paths. The others followed, their small hands clutching each other tightly. At last, they reached the outskirts of the ruined city. Beyond the walls lay a barren plain under the cold light of 2 moons. The night air was sharp and empty, but here there were no soldiers. The children stopped, gasping for breath. The youngest fell to her knees, crying. "He is gone," she whispered. "He saved us. But he is gone." The oldest knelt beside her. "No," she said softly. "He is not gone. Not truly." The others looked at her, confused. She placed her glowing hand against her chest. "He lives here, in us, in what he gave us." The smallest wiped her tears. "But what can we do? We are only children." The oldest's eyes burned with new strength. "No, we are more. He showed us that. The soldiers hunt us because of what we are, but he taught us we are not only victims. We can fight, we can protect, we can be more." The children grew quiet, listening. For the first time, their fear faded. In its place was something stronger, hope. From the distance they heard engines again. The soldiers were regrouping. The hunt was not over. The oldest stood tall, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. "We must keep moving. But one day we will come back, not as orphans, not as prey. We will return as what we are meant to be." The others nodded. Their glowing eyes shone brighter, reflecting the moons above. They walked together across the plain. Every step was small, but each one carried the weight of survival. Far behind them, the city glowed faintly with blue light. Somewhere within its broken walls lay the body of the human who had fought for them. The soldiers would claim victory, but they would never understand what had truly happened, because the children knew the truth. One man, with nothing but a knife and his will, had stood against an army. Not for gold, not for glory, but for them. 4 alien children who had nothing. He had seen their hunger, their fear, and he had chosen to protect them. That choice changed everything, the youngest whispered as they walked, her voice soft but steady. "He believed in us. We must be worthy of him." "Yes," the oldest said. "We will carry his light. Wherever we go, whatever we face, we will remember." As the moons climbed higher, the children's blue eyes shone like stars across the barren plain. They were weak, yes. They were hunted, yes. But they were no longer alone. They carried within them the memory of a human's courage, and in that memory was a lesson. Strength was not only in weapons or armies or power. True strength was in compassion, in sacrifice, in the choice to protect those who could not protect themselves. That was humanity's gift. That was humanity's light. The children vanished into the horizon, their glowing eyes fading into the night. But their story was only beginning, and in the ruins behind them under the silent moons, the legend of one human's choice was born. A legend that would spread across the stars.